So I made a discovery. On your way to wherever God is taking you, not everyone is going to cheer for you. And that's okay. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and I'll tell you why. It's okay if everyone doesn't understand. It's okay if even you feel like, to be honest, I don't really understand the exact coordinates to where God is taking me. That's okay too. Let me tell you where all this is stemming from. I had a conversation with someone who will remain nameless. Family member, but we're going to keep them nameless. And the weird part is that I sensed that it was coming from a loving place. Now, I am a person that truly believes in the A1s. Like, I want to be able to say, you remember when I had this dream and then I walked it out, and then you've seen it from the inception to the birth of it, to the growth of it, all the above. Like, that truly means something to me. But in order to have that, I have to let people in on what's happening and what I feel as I'm kind of navigating the currents and all the other things, right? The problem with that is that it allows people the opportunity to insert their opinions when it's not needed. And so I had a discovery, having a conversation with someone. I'm like, yeah, and I can't wait to see what God has me in a year. And I was like revving up and excited and really expressing, like, I don't particularly know, but I see the fruit of what's happening and I'm excited and this, that, and the third. And then opinion entered the chat and low-key kind of attempted to deflate because it was infused in logic. It was like, well, you know what? I would have done it this way because, you know, business is difficult the first couple of years and this, that. And I was listening, and a few things happened as I was listening. I said, man, it's unfortunate that you cannot get the compassion and the cheers as you climb. You're literally going to have to wait until you get to the stage and look out to the seat and say, that's kind of disappointing. It's disappointing that you would have to be quiet, that you would have to be reserved with people that you care about or that you feel like care about you, and that you want them to be like, you know what? If that's how God is leading you, I don't particularly get it. But like, go for it. You got one life to live. If that's what you feel peace about it. Like, I wish that there was more of that. But on the way to the climb, it is so heavy for someone else to grab the back of your proverbial shirt and say, you sure you want to do it like that? It is too heavy to feel like you're being spirit led, but then someone else is whispering and their words are getting to your head. It cannot be a competition on how God is leading me versus how I feel that from the people who love me. Yeah, it can't be a divide. And if I'm put in a position to feel like I have to choose between, God, I don't completely understand you, but I trust you, versus how I look to the people that I love, they're going to lose every time. Yeah, they're going to lose every time. And let me explain something to you. That was the other side of it. I was so proud of myself. I didn't feel this, yeah, all right, well, I'm going to show you. It was just like, when I get to the end of my life, I dare not look at God and say, I didn't build the boat because of what the people were saying. Nah, she's not there no more. Yeah, the opinions of people versus me really being obedient to what God said, you're going to lose every time, big bruh. And I don't know if that came with age. I don't know if that comes with wisdom. And I just had to say, like, yo, it gets to the point that if what I'm doing or what I'm not doing is aiding to somebody else's lifestyle or adding value to the refrigerator or bank account in any way, then they absolutely have something to say that I will lend an ear to. But if what I'm doing It's not infecting or impacting you in any kind of way. And it's just probably genuinely coming from you, the safety of how you're living your life. And you're seeing me walk out the boat and you're like, ooh, humans usually don't walk on water. It's like, yeah, but Jesus is there. So like, if I got to get to him and leave you behind, you're going to lose every time. You're going to lose every time. And I wanted to capture this particular moment because no one really tells you about this. You don't want to look odd in the eyes of the people you love. A human basic necessity is you want to be understood. You want people to understand. Like, you want them to look over the shoulder of your blueprint that you feel like God is giving you and go, oh, I see exactly that. I get it. That makes perfect sense. Oh, that's going to be a great idea. You want that. But the reality is that you may not get that. And so then that's when you got to make the decision. Are you going to be fed and led by the crowd? Or are you going to be fueled by what you feel that God is leading you to? And so you got to fulfill the coordinates to your calling. Like, it literally gets to the point that you have to be okay with, like, I'm sorry you don't get it. And I'm sorry it looks a certain kind of way. Because I was asked the question like, well, do you regret going to school? Because literally the timing that God did this, it was like, bro, you could at least let me use my degree real quick. But listen, didn't he say that his ways are above your ways and lean not on your own understanding? Like, he's saying all these things and it's almost repetitious. And it gets to the point, like, when are you going to actually see that you're going to have to live some of that? You're going to have to live some of that. The only difference is that in a sense, I'm kind of broadcasting it, but I'm not broadcasting it, documenting it, however you want to say, in order to invite people's opinions. Listen, I'm going to say something and it may be shocking. If what I'm doing doesn't make any sense to you and it makes you feel like, oh, that is wrong, then you have the absolute freedom to disconnect from seeing, hearing, or viewing me. It's freedom in this US of A streets. So in totality, that would mean that, to summarize, that this is not for you. And that's okay. Because I don't order from every restaurant either. I don't shop at every store either. I don't drink every beverage that's offered to me either. It's called selective. It's called choice, right? But for the grandbabies that have a little bit of an inkling to lean in, to kind of like, wait a minute, either having an interest or seeing like, my gosh, I wish somebody was talking about that. Finally, someone is using the words that I could not find. Finally, someone's saying something that actually connects to me. Then guess what? You among my cousinship. Okay? Like we grandbaby in the same. The only reason why I went that extra mile to even document any of this, not only because I want to look back, it's because people were not speaking the words that made sense to me and that were connecting to me. And I was like, I'm going to be the words that I need. I'm going to be the voice that I'm like, yo, does anybody else feel like? And then lo and behold, when actually walking this path, I started to see other people and I'm like, so it's not just me. I'm not the only person that feels this pull to do things polar opposite than the average world. Like, I'm not the only person that feels this little bit of a going against the grain. I'm not this person, because the question was asked to me. She said to me, so you didn't want to work the job anymore? I said, no, I couldn't. She said, no, you mean you didn't want to? I said, no, I could not. And we were kind of going back and forth on that a little bit. Like, she was trying to spoon feed, like, you didn't want to? And I was like, I couldn't. And that was not understood. And I guess it's an ancestral thing. We didn't really have a whole room to kind of say like, oh, this is too much for me. Like, there's not a lot of space for that, you know, in the African American community. We do things that we don't want to do all the time. We show up to places that we're too tired to be all the time. We have been trained. We have worked through abuse. We have worked through neglect. We have worked in conditions that are inhumane. Like, we have done some extraordinary things. But guess what? That does not mean that we should continue to cut and paste. I don't want that. I don't want a carbon copy of the curse of the past, of the ancestors. I don't want that. And so I went through this whole spiel of why I felt like I could no longer be in corporate, what I felt like it was doing to me internally. Like literally, I was feeling like low key and rebuke it in the name of Jesus. But there was a withering inside that was starting to make me feel like I was slowly dying inside. Not even to be dramatic, because nothing about attention makes me feel like, ooh, let me say all these words. And like, I'm not that grandbaby. Like, I'm just not. But I could not ignore anymore that there was a withering. And I could not deny that once removed from certain external environments, that I started feeling literally alive in a way that I could not put words to. And so there is a difference between I don't want to. No, this is not I don't want to go to the gym today. This is I need to listen to my body. Maybe I need a rest. But this was almost an amplified version of that, because this was I can no longer continue to try to strain and gain and try to promote myself and try to make provisions for God's plan for my life and try to do. And so for the first time ever, I'm literally saying I can't do that anymore. Not only was my body saying something to me, my spirit was like, so we're going to have to do something different because this is not it. And so for me to be able to articulate that to someone with very limited verbiage, it was almost misunderstood. Like, oh, you didn't want to. No, this wasn't I didn't want to pick up the phone. This was I felt the danger in continuing to answer that particular call. I know we don't really have a whole bunch of dynamic. We don't have a whole bunch of leeway in that area. So it is difficult to understand, and I get it. And the one thing that came up in my spirit, the one thing that I would take from that conversation is there is a difference than giving someone your testimony versus trying to convince someone of why you're doing something. And I had to correct myself. I felt myself putting on a case. Like, Your Honor, the reason why I did A, B, and C is because and I'm giving the reasons and I'm giving the facts, and I felt myself getting emotional, like drawn in it, and I'm trying to like, you see what I'm saying? And after all of that, guess what? She still didn't understand. So I had to stop myself. I was like, did I just spend my time on this phone call convincing someone of what I'm already convinced of? Right? I'm not asking someone like, hey, these are all the things. What do you think? I didn't ask that. I said, here's the reason why I'm doing something. And then the opinion came after that. And I was like, I didn't ask you for the opinion part. I'm telling you why. So on this path, unfortunately, what I have learned, I would take a page from the Deacon Wayne. Real G's move in silence like lasagna. Okay, like that's what we're getting ready to do. And I hate to do it, but it's like, if I have to choose to walk this path, that is it's not scary. Scary is not the word. It's unknown. But I trust who's leading me, right? So if I have to choose to walk that with clarity, or to have to continue to clear my mind and my emotions on what other people are saying, I will zip, lock, shackle, push away, anchor that particular side so that I could follow God freely. Freely. Notice when Peter got out the boat, he didn't commune with the other 11 disciples and say, you think I should go out there real quick? I mean, it sounds like Jesus. You think I should go? You think I should go? Like, what y'all think? Why are you asking people who are still in the boat? Why are you asking people who are still in the circumstance that you no longer desire to be in? Why are you asking people who literally have made their choice? They're scared, ghost, and they decided to stay in the boat. And while that's no reprimand on the 11, I just want to be the one that walks to Jesus. And I will figure it out once I get out there with him, as long as I don't go ahead and sink because of doubt. So I can't let you get into the boat of my life when I'm literally trying to walk on water. It's too heavy to put people that can possibly have words to sink me when I'm trying to walk on water with Jesus. I can't do it. Not that I don't want to. I can't. Like, my life is on the line. Like, real talk. Like, I want 5 to 10 years from now me to look back and be like, bruh, I know You had to like stiff arm, and I don't even play football. You had to stiff arm a couple of people to get here. But you know what? I want 5 to 10 years from me to say to myself, thank you. Like, I know that was hard, bruh. Yeah, it's nothing cute or glamorized about walking a path and it looks like I'm so lonely. Like, this is a little bit, but I tell you what else is not glamorized. Being among the many and you're the one that's starving. Being around company and having a lot of people, having a whole bunch of Me Too's around you because we all are suffering in the same way, but you're suffering differently. I'm not interested. I am old enough and I'm wise enough to recognize that if I have to get there with a handful of people, I'm going to get there. Yeah, the crowd don't do nothing for me. I'm not interested. I stayed in the crowd for years. I did it the crowd's way. I did it the culture's way. I did it the American dream way. It's not working, right? And so I at least want to see, as long as God gives me breath, I'm going to do this the way that you're saying to do it. And I had a beautiful conversation with my son. Right after having that conversation with my cousin, I asked him, I said, how do you know? Because I want to make sure that I'm passing down wisdom that I'm learning late so that he can learn it early, so he can apply it early, so that it's in my generation and bloodline forever. These are the things that I'm discovering because no one taught me this. Right? So had I been gifted this wisdom and not have been perishing from a lack of knowledge, the way the Bible said, then maybe I would be in a different space in my life. But you know what? I'm having a self-discovery, but I'm doing it in a way that it will be in my bloodline forever. So I asked him, how do you know when you have made a good decision? And how do you know when you're on the cusp of making a good decision? Like, tell me how you, when you have decisions in front of you, how do you know which one is a good decision? And then once you've made it, how do you know that you made a good decision? And I was blown away by the wisdom, because the way that I've been pouring into and his connection with God, it was like, I'm just so glad that you learned this early. He was like, I mean, at the end of the day, in his own ways, because, you know, he's a little, he's a little hood. He's my New York baby. But he was pretty much like, you got to test it out to see. Like, you know, you make sure that you hear from God and this, that, and the third. And what the bottom line was, do you feel peace? And that's what God was telling me. He was like, if peace, it can look scary, it can look unknown, all these other things. But at the end of the day, let peace be your compass, because peace only comes from God. Yeah, that's why it's a fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, right? You can't produce peace. You can drink and have a little peace. You can use your vice and have a little peace. You can go on vacation and have a little peace. But a constant state of peace, peacefulness, you can't produce that. That is a God seed. Okay? That's why it's a fruit of the Spirit. And so here's what I choose not to do. I choose to no longer continue to dig through the soil of myself to show someone else my seed and then pack it back so that it can grow. I'm not convincing anyone else. That's what I feel like convincing is. Convincing is peeling back the layers of you to show the seed that God has planted in you. And what you're ultimately doing when you pack the soil back is you are delaying your personal growth. Why are we doing that? No. You know how they'll know that that was God leading you? You know how they will eventually know that was a good idea or it was a God idea? It's when they start to see the fruit. But henceforth, because when I declare something, it is what it is. Henceforth, I will never get into a realm where I'm trying to convince someone of my calling, where I'm trying to get a person to understand my purpose, where I'm trying to get someone to understand how God is leading me. Not interested. And so this is what I've learned on the path to abundance. You're literally going to have to decide who has your ear. And I'm not making the same mistake Eve made. She was in the garden. God already said what he said, but she let the serpent get in her ear. I'm not interested. Bloop. Go ahead and fold this in. Who's interested? Not her, not interested. Like literally, this is life or death. I ain't gonna hold you. And it may not be a physical one, but it's a spiritual one, and it's one from my soul. I have got to see the side of life that looks like it's worth living. What I was doing was making a living. I was surviving, but I did not feel alive. I did not feel purposeful. I literally felt like the lamp that was table decor, and I was never plugged up. When you are not used for your purpose, that is literally the visual that you need to have. You are a lamp used as table decor. And what you were intended for was to produce light in a certain area. And so I choose to no longer be table decor, where you see me, where you can compliment me, but I am not being used in my purpose. That is not my idea of fun. Not my idea of fun. So that's what I'm learning. And that's what I've learned. And so outside of the conversations that we're having, I don't plan on having any other conversations with anyone else. Because if you don't get it, by all means, I absolutely understand it. Don't stay tuned. It's so much freedom in these streets. In these US of A streets, like the freedom is plenty. Freedom of choice. Okay, you can go ahead and say, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Like it's plenty. In this realm, okay? But if we're connecting and God is speaking to you, or you feel inspired, or you're getting some type of like, then you understand? Like, let's not do what's not working, and let's do more of what is, shall we? And that's just what it is. Yeah, that's it for me. So did you do the like and the subscribe and all the YouTube stuff? Like, and also comment, like, tell me something. You understand? Because I feel like I hate that we got to be a little secretive, but it's not being secretive. It's being protective. Yeah, we don't really show people and tell everybody what's happening in the inception of our pregnancy. Yeah, I'll tell you at the birthing center. Yeah, I want to be able to say, here's my baby versus I'm pregnant. It seemed like in certain realms, people aren't really receptive to the pregnancy if it looks outside of what they deem to be the best time, the best situation. I'm no longer, okay, going to be doing that. And that's just pretty much what I feel. Tell me what you feel in the comments too, okay? But listen, we do this every week, okay? And we're going to be talking, a lot about everything that I'm discovering on my way to abundance. And it's real. It don't get no realer than this. Because, this is life. But listen, I'm going to go ahead and let me go. We talk later? Later.